Every Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in working-class kitchens from Pittsburgh to St. Louis, the same sound rolled through narrow hallways and out into the alleyways of America. The cast-iron lid lifting off the Sunday supper pot. The smell of pot roast, or ham loaf, or stuffed cabbage hit the children before they had even finished walking up the front steps. They knew. They had always known. Their mother had been awake since 5 in the morning, making something out of almost nothing. Today, almost no American family sits down for Sunday supper at 1 o'clock at all. Number 14 on this list is so old, it predates the American Republic by 3 years. Working-class farm families have been making it since 1773. Number 8 fed a family of 9 for 40 cents in 1956. The mother who made it was 32 years old and could not yet read. Number 3 contains a Hungarian-American fermentation step that grandmothers took to their graves. Food scientists have not been able to recreate it since. These 25 Sunday suppers were not just dinners. They were the one weekly proof a working-class American mother was still keeping her family together on whatever the week's paycheck and her own ingenuity allowed. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down the 25 forgotten 1950s poor man Sunday suppers that vanished from American kitchens. Number 25. Hot meatloaf with pan gravy. In 1957, a meatpacker's wife in Omaha, Nebraska could feed her family of 6 on a single pound of ground chuck for 38 cents. She mixed it with last night's stale bread soaked in milk, 1 egg, half a yellow onion grated fine, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, salt, and black pepper, shaped it into a loaf, baked it for an hour at 325. The pan drippings were the whole point. She poured them off into a cast-iron skillet, whisked in 2 tablespoons of flour, added a cup of milk, and stirred until the gravy turned the color of weak coffee. Today, meatloaf comes from a frozen Costco pack at $12. The drippings are poured down the drain. The mother who knew that the drippings were the meal. Most working-class kitchens no longer have that mother in them. Number 24. Tuna noodle casserole. The Italian Catholic working-class kitchens of Brooklyn's Bensonhurst made tuna noodle casserole every Friday and most Sundays in 1955. 1 can of bumblebee tuna at 19 cents, 1 can of Campbell's cream of mushroom, a half pound of egg noodles, a handful of frozen peas, a bag of crushed Lay's potato chips on top before it went into the oven for 30 minutes. The crushed potato chips were the genius. They turned the top into a salty, crisp crust that the children fought over. Mothers served it with a slice of white bread and butter on the side. In 1955, the whole pan cost 46 cents and fed 7 people. Today, almost no American mother under 50 knows that potato chips were ever a casserole topping. Most of them assume someone made a mistake. Number 23. American goulash. The Midwestern working-class kitchens of Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Cleveland made American goulash every Sunday between October and April. They called it different names depending on the state. Slumgullion in Iowa, Johnny Marzetti in Ohio, American chop suey in Massachusetts, American goulash everywhere else. Same dish, ground beef, tomato sauce, elbow macaroni, yellow onion, garlic, Italian seasoning, salt. A pound of ground chuck cost 38 cents in 1956. A pound of macaroni cost 14. A can of tomato sauce cost a dime. The whole pot fed 8 people for 43 cents. Most American grandchildren today have never heard the word slumgullion. They eat hamburger helper out of a Stauffer's freezer aisle. The ladles their grandmothers used to stir these pots are in thrift store boxes from Pittsburgh to Cedar Rapids. Nobody is buying them. When you make a Sunday roast chicken alone in a quiet kitchen now, with no family around the table, the smell still rises. It still gets into the wallpaper. It still rolls out the screen door. And somewhere in the smell of it, you remember that you are worth the trouble of cooking for. It was the meal that meant someone was home. When you make it for yourself now, it still means that. The someone is you. That counts. Here is my challenge. Make one of these this week, just one Sunday. Maybe the meatloaf, maybe the goulash, maybe just a 5-pound chicken with pan gravy and the smell rolling out the screen door. Tell me down in the comments which Sunday supper your mother made. If your grandmother is still living, call her before Sunday, not after. Call her first. The window is smaller than any of us would like to believe. These were not just suppers. They were the proof that someone was waiting at the door for you. Number 22, Sloppy Joe's. A factory worker's wife in Toledo, Ohio in 1958 could feed her 4 children for 31 cents a meal. 1 pound of ground beef cooked in a cast iron skillet, a can of tomato sauce, a diced onion, a spoon of brown sugar, a splash of Worcestershire, a spoon of yellow mustard, salt, pepper. Served on a hamburger bun her husband had bought on his way home from the second shift. The taste was sweet, vinegary, and faintly meaty. Children ate it with their hands. The juice ran down their wrists. Today, Sloppy Joe's come from a can of manwich. The manwich tastes nothing like the homemade sauce. It is too sweet, too thin, and full of corn syrup. The mother who slow-cooked the original sauce for 40 minutes? Most working-class American kitchens no longer have her in them. Number 21, Salisbury steak with onion gravy. The Polish-American working-class kitchens of Detroit's Hamtramck made Salisbury steak every other Sunday from October to March. 1 pound of ground chuck shaped into 4 oval patties, the way a real steak would look, pan-fried in lard for 4 minutes aside, set aside on a warm plate. Then the gravy. 3 sliced yellow onions cooked in the same pan for 40 minutes over low heat until they turned the color of mahogany. A spoon of flour stirred in, a cup of beef broth from a bouillon cube, salt, pepper, poured over the patties. The whole pan cost 41 cents in 1957 and fed 5 people with mashed potatoes on the side. Today, Salisbury steak comes from a Hungry Man frozen tray at $4. The mother who patiently caramelized those onions for 40 minutes, that mother is gone. Number 20, pork chops with applesauce. The Pennsylvania Dutch farm kitchens of Lancaster County kept a quart jar of homemade applesauce in the cellar from October until the next October. The applesauce came from the orchard out back. The jars came from her mother. The recipe came from her mother before her. Bone-in pork chops were 29 cents apiece in 1956. A working-class farm wife pan-fried them in a tablespoon of lard for 6 minutes aside. Served them with a heaping spoon of cold applesauce on the same plate. The hot pork drippings hit the cold sauce and turned it into something else. Sweet, savory, smoky. Today, pork chops are sold boneless and cellophane-wrapped at the grocery store. Applesauce comes from a plastic squeeze pouch in a child's lunchbox. The cellar is gone. The orchard is gone. The mother is gone. Number 19, chicken and dumplings. The rural southern working-class kitchens of Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mississippi made chicken and dumplings every Sunday after church. A black grandmother in Memphis, Tennessee in 1957 could feed her family of 9 on 1 stewing hen for 46 cents. The hen had been raised in her backyard and slaughtered Saturday morning. She simmered the bird for 2 hours in salted water with an onion, 2 carrots, and 3 stalks of celery. Then she pulled it out, picked the meat off the bones, and put the meat back in the pot. The dumplings were 2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, salt, and enough buttermilk to make a stiff dough, dropped by spoonfuls onto the simmering broth, cooked, covered for 12 minutes. Today, the dumplings come from a can of Pillsbury biscuit dough. The hen comes from a Costco rotisserie at $5. Almost no black grandmother under 60 knows the recipe by heart anymore. Number 18, hot turkey sandwich. Open-faced. A factory wife in Buffalo, New York in 1957 made hot turkey sandwiches every Sunday after Thanksgiving and every other week with whatever roast bird the family could afford. 2 slices of cheap white bread laid flat on a plate. A heap of mashed potatoes piled on top. Slices of leftover roast turkey draped over the potatoes. 2 ladles of brown gravy poured over everything until the bread underneath disappeared. The whole plate cost 30 cents to assemble using already cooked food. Children ate it with a fork and a knife. The bread underneath had turned into something between bread and pudding. Today, the open-faced hot turkey sandwich exists only in old diner menus on the side of 2-lane highways in upstate New York. The factory is closed. The diner is boarded up. The wife who made it stood at her stove until she was 82. Number 17. Beef stroganoff. The Russian Jewish widow in Cleveland's Glenville neighborhood in 1955 made beef stroganoff every Sunday. Her 2 grandchildren came over from Cleveland Heights. 1 pound of ground chuck, browned in butter, a diced yellow onion, sautéed in the same pan, a can of cream of mushroom soup, a cup of sour cream stirred in at the very end so it would not curdle, salt, black pepper, a spoon of paprika, served over a bed of egg noodles she had rolled out herself on Friday afternoon. The whole pot cost 48 cents and fed 7. The egg noodles took her 20 minutes to roll, cut, and dry on the back of a chair. She did this every Friday for 43 years. Today, beef stroganoff comes from a hamburger helper box that has the picture of a glove cartoon on it. The grandchildren who once knocked on her door at noon every Sunday are now 70 years old. They still cannot find the recipe. Number 16. Ham loaf. The German-American working-class kitchens of Cincinnati's over the Rhine made ham loaf every Easter and most other Sundays besides. A pound of ground ham from the corner butcher cost 28 cents in 1956. A pound of ground pork was 32 cents. Mixed together with 2 eggs, a cup of milk-soaked breadcrumbs, half a chopped yellow onion, and a tablespoon of brown mustard, shaped into a loaf, glazed with brown sugar, vinegar, and yellow mustard, baked for 90 minutes at 350. The glaze caramelized into a dark crust. The kitchen smelled like a cured meats shop in Munich. Mothers served it sliced with mashed potatoes and a spoon of horseradish on the side. In 1956, the whole loaf cost 42 cents and fed 8 people. Today, almost no American butcher under 50 knows what ground ham is. Customers ask for it and get blank stares. Number 15. Hash brown casserole. The Lutheran Church Potluck Queens of Mason City, Iowa, and Worthington, Minnesota brought hash brown casserole to every funeral, every wedding, and every Sunday after service luncheon between 1955 and 1972. A bag of frozen hash browns, a can of cream of chicken, a cup of sour cream, a cup of shredded sharp cheddar, a stick of melted butter, mixed and spread in a 13-by-9 pan, topped with 2 cups of crushed cornflakes mixed with another half stick of melted butter, baked at 350 for 45 minutes. The cornflakes turned dark gold and crisp. The bottom turned creamy. The cheese pulled in long strings off the spoon. In 1956, the whole pan cost 56 cents and fed 12. Today, the cornflake topping has been replaced by canned French-fried onions. Nobody crushes their own cornflakes anymore. The Lutheran ladies who did it for decades are mostly buried in Worthington Lutheran Cemetery, with their funeral casseroles already eaten. Number 14. Sunday chicken pot pie. This is the one. Number 14 is so old, it predates the American Republic by 3 years. The Pennsylvania Dutch Farm kitchens of Lancaster County have been making Sunday chicken pot pie since 1773. The recipe came over from the Palatinate region of Germany on the William Penn ships. By 1956, the recipe was identical to what it had been on the boat. Leftover Sunday roast chicken meat picked from the bones, 2 cups of chicken broth made from those same bones, a diced carrot, a handful of peas, and a pie crust rolled out from flour, lard, and ice water. Food historians estimate that Sunday chicken pot pie was eaten at least once a week by half of all Pennsylvania Dutch farm families between 1800 and 1970. The recipe was never written down. It existed entirely in the heads of the women who made it. In 1956, a Lancaster County mother could feed her family of 7 on a Sunday chicken pot pie for 31 cents, using nothing but the leftover bird and what was already in the pantry. Today, chicken pot pie is a $4 Stouffer's frozen tray. The roof of the crust is brown plastic film. Number 13. Beef and noodles. The steel mill families of Indianapolis and Gary. Indiana made beef and noodles every other Sunday from 1946 until the mills started closing in 1978. 2 pounds of beef chucks simmered in salted water with a bay leaf for 3 full hours until the meat fell apart at the touch of a fork. A pound of white egg noodles dropped into the same pot in the last 15 minutes. A whole stick of butter swirled in at the end. Black pepper. That was it. The dish was simple, gold, and intensely beefy. Children ate it from deep bowls with paper napkins tucked into their collars. In 1956, the whole pot cost 44 cents and fed 9. Today, almost no American mother under 60 knows how to simmer beef chuck for 3 hours. They use instant pots and microwave meal kits. The mill is gone. The butcher is gone. The pot is in a Goodwill on West Washington Street. Number 12. Stuffed cabbage rolls. The Polish, Slovak, Hungarian, and Slavic working-class kitchens of Pittsburgh's Hill District, Detroit's Hamtramck, and Cleveland's Slavic Village made stuffed cabbage rolls every Sunday from October through April. The Polish called them golubki. The Slovaks called them holubki. The Hungarians called them toltot kaposta. The Bohemians called them sarma. Same dish, a head of cabbage parboiled until the leaves softened, a pound of ground pork mixed with cooked rice, an egg, a grated onion, and a teaspoon of paprika. A spoonful of the mixture rolled inside each leaf. The rolls layered in a Dutch oven over a base of sliced sauerkraut, covered in tomato sauce, baked at 325 for 2.5 hours. A Slovak grandmother in Pittsburgh's Hill District in 1956 could feed 11 people on a dozen rolls for 38 cents. Today, almost no American grandchild of those Slovak grandmothers can pronounce the word holubki. The recipes died with the grandmothers, unwritten. Number 11. Macaroni and cheese with bacon. The Cleveland working-class Sunday night fallback. When the family had finished the Sunday roast at 1 o'clock and was hungry again at 6, the mother put a pot of mac and cheese on the stove, a pound of elbow macaroni, a pound of sharp cheddar grated by hand, a cup of whole milk, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour cooked into a roux, salt, black pepper, a pinch of dry mustard, 6 slices of bacon fried crisp and crumbled on top. The bacon was the whole point. It was salty, smoky, and gave the soft cheese sauce a counterpoint. In 1957, the whole pot cost 26 cents and fed 7. Today, mac and cheese comes from a Kraft blue box. The cheese powder is bright orange. There is no bacon. There is no roux. There is no mother who stayed at the stove stirring it for 15 minutes to keep it from sticking. The Sunday night fallback is now a microwave shortcut. Number 10. Liver and onions. The Sunday meal for the patriarch in working-class kitchens, from Brooklyn to Boise. Working-class meal traditions held that men needed iron, and beef liver was the cheapest source on earth. In 1956, beef liver was 12 cents per pound at the butcher. A pound fed 3. The mother sliced the liver thin, dipped each slice in flour, and pan-fried them in bacon grease for 2 minutes aside. Removed them to a warm plate. Caramelized 2 large yellow onions in the same pan for 30 minutes until they turned dark brown and sweet. Return the liver to the pan to warm through. Served with mashed potatoes and a fried egg on top of the liver if the father had worked a double shift. Today, almost no American under 50 would willingly eat beef liver. The butcher case where it once sat is full of pre-marinated chicken breasts. The mothers who sliced it thin every Sunday for their husbands are gone, and most of their daughters have never tasted it. Number 9. Tuna patties. The Italian Catholic widow in Boston's North End made tuna patties every Friday night, and most Sunday suppers besides. 2 cans of bumblebee tuna at 19 cents apiece. 1 sleeve of crushed saltine crackers, 1 beaten egg, a finely diced quarter of a yellow onion, a teaspoon of dried dill, salt, pepper, the juice of half a lemon, mixed together and shaped into 8 patties. Pan-fried in butter for 3 minutes, aside until golden. The patties were crisp on the outside and soft on the inside. She served them with a wedge of lemon, a spoon of mayonnaise, and a side of green peas. In 1955, the whole plate cost 38 cents and fed 5. Today, no Catholic family keeps the Friday no-meat tradition. The tuna comes from a foil pouch. The saltines are not crushed. The mother who stood at the stove pan-frying 8 golden patties. That mother is gone, and her recipe is gone with her. Number 8. Chicken fried steak with white gravy. This is the one. Number 8 fed a family of 9 for 40 cents in 1956. The Texas farm wife outside Lubbock was 32 years old and could not yet read. Her husband worked 13 hours a day on a cotton sharecrop. Her 7 children needed something hot on Sunday at noon. Her mother had taught her this exact recipe when she was 11 years old. A pound of beef cube steak from the West Texas butcher cost 40 cents per pound in 1956. She pounded each piece thin with the back of a heavy fork, dredged each piece in seasoned flour, dipped it in buttermilk, dredged it in flour again, fried it in 2 inches of melted lard for 3 minutes aside until the crust turned dark brown. Then the gravy. She poured off all but 2 tablespoons of the lard, whisked in 2 tablespoons of flour to make a roux, poured in 2 cups of whole milk, stirred until the gravy turned thick and creamy. Salt, black pepper, lots of black pepper. Served over the chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes and a slice of white bread on the side. The whole Sunday meal cost 40 cents and fed 9. Today, chicken fried steak is a $24 entree at a Texas roadhouse with a craft beer pairing. The mother who fed her family of 9 for 40 cents. Almost no American mother today knows how to make a roux from drippings. The skill has not been passed down. Number 7. Hot dogs and beans. Sunday. This was the absolute rock-bottom Sunday. The week the steel mill had cut his hours. The week the rent had eaten the grocery budget. The week the icebox was empty by Saturday afternoon. A steelworkers family in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania in 1956 had a Sunday like this once a month. The mother went to the corner Acme. She bought 1 package of 8 Oscar Mayer hot dogs for 19 cents, 1 can of Van Camp's pork and beans for 14 cents, a wedge of yellow cheese for 10 cents. The whole shop took her 4 minutes. She sliced the hot dogs into the beans, stirred in 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, a spoon of yellow mustard, a spoon of ketchup, heated the whole pot on the stove for 15 minutes, toasted 6 slices of white bread, served the beans over the toast with a slice of cheese melting on top. The whole Sunday supper cost 23 cents and fed 5. The children loved it. Today, the Oscar Mayers cost $5 a pack, and the Bush's beans come in a gourmet version with bacon and brown sugar already added. Number 6. Swiss steak smothered. The Czech-American mother in Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 1956 made Swiss steak every other Sunday. 2 pounds of round steak, the cheapest cut on the cow at 43 cents per pound. She pounded flour into both sides with the rough side of a heavy plate, browned the meat in lard, added a can of diced tomatoes, a sliced yellow onion, a sliced green bell pepper, salt, pepper, and a bay leaf. Covered the pan and braised it on the back of the stove for 3 full hours. By the time her family came in from the Sunday afternoon at her brother-in-law's farm, the round steak was so tender a fork could pull it apart. The gravy was thick and savory. She served it over mashed potatoes with a slice of buttered rye bread on the side. The whole pan cost 98 cents in 1956 and fed 11 Czech Americans gathered around her dining table. Today, almost no American mother braises round steak for 3 hours. The rolling pin she used to pound the flour into the meat is in there too. Number 5. Stuffed green peppers. The Hungarian widow in Detroit's Del Rey neighborhood in 1956 made stuffed green peppers every Sunday from June to October, when the peppers in her backyard garden were ripe. 6 green bell peppers cut at the top, the seeds and ribs removed. The stuffing was a pound of ground beef, half a cup of cooked white rice, a finely diced yellow onion, a beaten egg, a tablespoon of sweet Hungarian paprika, salt, and black pepper. The peppers were stuffed full and packed tight into a Dutch oven, covered with a quart of homemade tomato sauce her mother had canned in September. Baked at 325 for 90 minutes. The peppers softened. The stuffing turned hot and fragrant. The tomato sauce thickened around the rim. She served them with a spoon of sour cream on top and a slice of dark rye bread on the side. The whole pot cost 36 cents and fed her family of 7. The Hungarian word she used for stuffed peppers was toltut paprika. Her grandchildren today, scattered between Royal Oak and Ann Arbor, do not speak Hungarian. Most of them have never tasted a homemade stuffed pepper. It does not exist anywhere on paper. It existed only in her head, and her head has been in the ground in Mount Olivet Cemetery in Detroit since 1991. Number 4, Polish sausage and sauerkraut. The Polish steelworker's mother in Pittsburgh's Strip District in 1956 made kielbasa and kraut every Sunday from October to April. A pound of fresh Polish kielbasa from the corner Polish butcher on Penn Avenue cost 28 cents. A quart of homemade sauerkraut from the crock she kept fermenting on the back porch cost nothing. She had made it from a head of cabbage in late September. A bay leaf, a tablespoon of caraway seeds, a half teaspoon of brown sugar, 3 apple slices for sweetness, all simmered together in a heavy iron pot for 2 hours. The kitchen smelled like Krakow in winter. In 1956, the whole pot cost 41 cents and fed 8 Poles gathered around her oilcloth-covered kitchen table. Today, the Polish butcher on Penn Avenue closed in 1993. The kielbasa comes from a Trader Joe's pre-cooked vacuum pack at $12. There is no homemade sauerkraut. There is no crock fermenting on the back porch. The mill closed in 1984. The mother is gone. The Sunday is gone. Number 3, chicken paprikash. This is the recipe Hungarian-American grandmothers took to their graves. Number 3 contains a single fermentation step that food scientists have not been able to recreate. The Hungarian grandmother on Cleveland's Buckeye Road in 1956 made chicken paprikash every Sunday between October and May, when the weather was cold enough for stew. 6 chicken thighs from the kosher butcher on East 116th Street. 2 tablespoons of pure Hungarian sweet paprika she had carried in a paper sack from Budapest in 1928. A diced yellow onion sweated in lard, 2 cups of chicken broth, a bay leaf, salt. Then the secret. She added a full cup of homemade sour cream, stirred in at the very end. The sour cream was not pasteurized. The cream sat in a glass jar at room temperature for a full 4 hours after delivery. By Sunday morning, it had developed a depth of flavor that no commercial sour cream has ever matched. When she stirred that sour cream into the paprikash, the broth turned coral pink and silky. The flavor was tangy, complex, and slightly fermented in a way that pasteurized sour cream cannot replicate. Modern food scientists at the USDA Dairy Research Lab in Beltsville, Maryland, have tried. They have failed. The yeast colony that lived continuously in her kitchen for 32 years died when she died, in 1978. The recipe is gone. Almost no Hungarian-American grandchild today has tasted real chicken paprikash. They eat a paler version made with daisy sour cream, and they do not know what they are missing. In 1956, her chicken paprikash cost 45 cents and fed her family of 7. The Buckeye Road kitchen no longer exists. The Telling Bell Vernon dairy truck stopped running in 1968. The paprika is now Hungarian imported but pasteurized through 3 industrial processes. The fermentation step is lost forever. Number 2, Sunday pot roast hash. This was the Monday morning genius. The 4-pound pot roast that had served the family on Sunday at 1 o'clock was not finished when Sunday ended. The mother sliced the leftover meat thin Sunday night and put it in the icebox. At 5 in the morning Monday, in a working-class row house in Pittsburgh, she put a cast-iron skillet on the stove. She diced 2 cold leftover boiled potatoes. She diced the remaining pot roast into half-inch cubes. She finely chopped half a yellow onion. She added 2 tablespoons of bacon grease saved in a coffee can on the back of the stove. She fried the whole mixture for 15 minutes, pressing it down with the back of a spatula until the bottom turned dark brown and crispy. 2 eggs cracked on top, a spoonful of ketchup on the side, a black coffee. Her husband sat at the kitchen table eating it in 7 minutes before he left for the 5:30 mill shift. The same hash packed in a tin lunchbox with 2 slices of buttered rye bread was his lunch 4 hours later. In 1956, the entire Monday morning meal cost 0 cents. It was made entirely from Sunday's leftovers. The genius of working-class Sunday cooking was that the 4-pound roast became Sunday supper, then Monday breakfast hash, then Tuesday sandwich filling, then Wednesday soup. 1 roast, 4 meals. One mother who knew exactly how to stretch a piece of meat across 4 days. Today, almost no American mother under 60 knows how to make hash from Sunday leftovers. The leftover pot roast is thrown out. The bacon grease is poured down the drain. The cast iron skillet is in a thrift store. The 5:30 mill shift no longer exists. The husband no longer exists. The lunchbox is in a museum. Number 1. Mom's Sunday Roast Chicken. This is the Sunday meal that almost every working-class American above the age of 50 remembers. It does not have a single name. Some families just called it Sunday chicken. Some families called it the bird. Some families just said, Sunday is roast chicken day. The recipe was simple, and it was different in every house. A 5-pound whole roasting chicken from the corner butcher cost 43 cents in 1956. The mother rinsed it, dried it with a flour sack towel, rubbed butter under the skin, salted it, peppered it, tucked a quartered yellow onion and 2 crushed garlic cloves into the cavity. Sometimes a sprig of dried rosemary from the kitchen window, sometimes nothing. Roasted at 325 for 3 hours, basting with the pan drippings every 20 minutes. By 12:30 on Sunday afternoon, the whole house smelled like roast chicken. The smell got into the wallpaper. The smell got into the children's hair. The smell rolled out the screen door and down the front steps, and it was the first thing you smelled when you turned the corner of the block coming home from church or the park or your friend's house. What mattered was not the recipe. What mattered was that your mother made it for you on Sunday. She had been awake since 5 in the morning. She had set the table for the family while the chicken was in the oven. She had ironed your father's good shirt. She had braided your sister's hair. By 12:30, when the whole family was finally home, she lifted the bird out of the oven, set it on the cutting board on the counter, let it rest for 10 minutes, and carved it standing up while the gravy thickened in a small saucepan beside her. In 1956, that whole Sunday meal, chicken, mashed potatoes, peas, gravy, a wedge of bread, and a glass of cold whole milk, cost about 85 cents to make. The chicken was stretched on Monday into chicken soup, on Tuesday into chicken sandwiches, on Wednesday into chicken pot pie, on Thursday into chicken broth that flavored Friday's beans. What mattered was not the math. What mattered was that the smell of that bird cooking was the smell of a working-class American family being together for one afternoon a week before the world started changing. Almost no American adult under 50 has stood in a doorway and had the smell of a 5-pound roasted chicken with pan gravy hit them before they had even walked in the room. Their grandmothers stood at that stove every Sunday at 12:30 in the afternoon for 40 consecutive years. Most of those grandmothers are gone now. The chickens come from a deli case at $6 apiece. The pan gravy comes from a McCormick packet. The mother who set the table while the chicken roasted, that mother is mostly gone, and the table is mostly empty. If you are old enough to remember the smell hitting you in the doorway, you are the last generation in American history that will remember it. Call her this week if she is still living. Tell her you remember. The chicken can wait. The grandmother cannot.